How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Hybrid Hype podcast with David Scott. I'm your co-host Nathan, and this will hopefully be our first video or first podcast with video. This is also our first one we've done since February, and we are now in our new podcast space. Same office, but now we have these wonderful, comfy couches, nice coffee table, nice lamp in the background. A little bit more homey, more comfortable than just a desk. So why don't you go ahead and get into what we're talking about today?
So today's topic I wanted to talk about was grit over glam, the hardcore gyms that thrive in commercial world. So that's kind of the topic on how old school gyms are thriving and how they differentiate themselves versus the corporate gyms, the commercial gyms out there. So stay tuned, and this is what we're going to get into. So just a little quick history about hybrid and like the, it was always kind of, you guys can go back to an old episode, but like it was always meant to be that gritty kind of old school vibe when I started it, and capitalize on that and just kind of a throwback to the golden era of weight training. And back in the 70s and 80s when I grew up, when training was a lot different than it is now, and gyms were a lot different. You actually, really had some intensity, and you actually worked and sweated and, all that stuff. And it wasn't viewed as commercialized and comfortable and easy and
What
stuff
worry
like
about
that. So
what worry about filming TikToks?
yeah. So it was basically grit over glam. So like strength over style. Results over aesthetics. Community over corporate gloss, you could say, as well as just building a tribe of like-minded individuals chasing results. Where you would be working out with that guy next to you, pushing each other to get better, and then come competition day, you're going to try and cut each other's head off, but then go and have a beer afterwards.
Yeah.
So that kind of that mentality of building a gym that I think a lot of the commercial industry ruined, and we'll get into that, but that's why I think these now are considered boutique, gyms are thriving again. So really, and I have an outline here that I'll go through. So if you see me just kind of referring to my outline, I'm just trying to stay on pace here. So basically, let's get into topic one, which is the state of the industry. Commercial gyms have been around and popularized, obviously, by the Planet Fitnesses of the world. Probably the better part of 20 years now, probably 25, 30 years, honestly. And they can do so because of the marketing dollars that they have to outmarket us smaller mom and pop style gyms. So being able to buy airtime or TV time and stuff like that, really helps with awareness of people like wanting to join the gym. And then on top of that, I think just society in general, the mentality changed to more of almost a softer side over that time. Exercise should be easy, and non-intimidating, stuff like that, which they used as their marketing ploys to, try and drive more people to come in. So it's just, for me, it's I don't know, it's just, there's no substance there. When you have a commercial style gym, you're really selling the image. Everything's, fancy and pretty and purple colored, or everything's, matches, and it's really very glamorous looking. They got hydro beds and tanning beds and all this other stuff, which is fine, but you don't really have a whole lot in the way of free weights and equipment to really see some actual results,
They're
and
very much selling convenience and comfort and status over actual results and performance.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and it's, for a while there, I think they were offering free pizza, and it's like, it's a way to attract people in there, but you're not really helping the individual if you're, if they've already struggled with food and you're giving them, processed and nutritious food for free.
Yeah.
It's, now people can also say like, well, but Dave, you get donuts on occasional Saturdays. Yeah, and I do that because, members tend to like it as but I don't do it all the time. And it's very far and few between when we do that. And, but a lot of our members are also here and have worked hard. So eating a donut is not going to like ruin them,
also providing 24 donuts for 1,000 members.
Yeah,
it's not going to affect everyone.
I'm not ordering 50 pizzas or whatever. So, so that's really, what kind of the state of the industry is. It's like you've got the old school style of gym versus the corporate gyms. Now they are coming out with these new style or new school gyms that are all blacked out with LED lights and fancy equipment and stuff. And, that's another episode where it can be old school versus new school, but it still comes down to the same thing. Each one of us is trying to find our place within the corporate world, and it was pretty hard for a while, but I think it's getting easier as individuals, especially the younger generation, is much more in line with healthy ideas and lifestyle than even I was growing up at that age. So it's really helped quite a bit with these smaller boutique and mom and pop gyms with all the younger crowd. So
they also got kind of the opposite of that, of like all these younger kids that are getting into fitness for negative reasons.
Yeah.
In the sense of they're getting on like TRT or Tren or other kind of steroids because they see influencers do it. And that TikTok kind of gym that you're talking about, like that's the trend now, is like you got 14, 15-year-olds taking stuff they shouldn't even be taking because their bodies aren't even naturally producing anything yet.
Right.
That social media tells them they need to be taking just to keep up. When, I mean, that wasn't how your generation was, or generations before that. So they were just taught, eat well and train hard and you'll be okay.
Well, my generation, I'm 47. So, growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was obviously, you could tell like certain athletes in high school were on PEDs, and it was kind of just not really talked about, versus nowadays where it's so glamorized and broadcasted so openly on social media and YouTube. It was just a kind of different generation. And these young influencers that are taking the stuff and making lots of money off of it, and then that influences all these younger guys that are like, hey, I want to, get into that. And, maybe I can sure get rich and become famous, and everyone wants to be a influencer now. It's just kind of weird how the industry has come, but, yeah, I mean, that's another topic for another day, where you can get into PED use and old school ways versus new school and stuff like that. But yeah, we're really just, today, let's just focus on what like the old school gym or the hardcore gyms versus the corporate gyms, and probably going into my second topic here about hardcore gyms. I hate saying hardcore, but like serious gyms versus corporate gyms or commercial gyms is really the atmosphere and culture. So they're gonna that's one thing I've always been big on here at Hybrid, is building that atmosphere and culture and making an experience for you. So, if you're coming in, there's graffiti on the walls and playing loud music, and it could be metal, it could be hip hop, it could be rap, it could be rock. But it's a motivating environment that's gonna fuel your workout and fuel, your desire to get some real results. We're not fake here, everyone's got respect for one another. You know, whether you're a bodybuilder or functional trainer, you know, or power lifter or whatever, everyone kind of gets along, and that's just the culture we've built. Um, you know, you also have different kinds of people here that are serious about getting certain goals and like to compete, and other people that just, you know, are, you know, the average gym goer that just wants a cool place to work out. So it's a great, like, broad spectrum of individuals here. Um, you know, and I think all kind of like gyms like ours are like that across the country. And I think we're starting to see that bigger trend moving forward.
Yeah, there's less mediocrity when it comes to like gym stereotypes when you have more mom and pop places like this. Uh, you know, you don't see as many people showing up and just kind of socializing.
Right.
It's not like a hangout spot. Now, obviously, that's not to say there's not people that make friends or socialize here. But I think, yeah, like you said, we've definitely built a community here that is working hard, that comes in with a goal in mind for the most part, whether they have a competition coming up or trying to get ready for their first competition, or just have fitness goals that they actually want to complete. That a lot of people that sign up here who do have gym experience are usually coming from a corporate gym where they're saying, yeah, I've done a Planet Fitness or Anybody Fitness or anything like that. And they're like, yeah, their equipment's always broken, or I've maxed out on the dumbbells because their dumbbells only go to like 70 pounds,
Right.
or, oh, they don't have a bench press or like shit like that, where they don't have the tools to succeed in the way they want to succeed. So they have to seek out a mom and pop place like this that cares about the equipment that's in there, that, is specifically choosing because they want the best equipment possible to grow as best as possible. Right. Then maybe those corporate places, they just look at a pamphlet, fill in what they can in their space, and that's that, and then just take in the money.
Yeah, and that's usually the case. It's you know, the biggest complaints we hear about corporate gyms that when people sign up is the equipment's broke. The equipment's kind of like maybe a lower grade commercial grade style of equipment. You know, they don't have the variety. It's all kind of just mundane, just kind of like exercise equipment that, you know, just, you know, ho hum about it. Nothing overly fancy. And some people that works, you know, but other people, you know, they're going to outgrow that quick, and they're going to need a gym like ours that has multiple um, variety, you know, pieces for, you know, chest, back, whatever body group you're training, and you've got options. You're not waiting on equipment. You know, you've got heavier dumbbells, you got heavier weights, stuff like that. So definitely one of the big things about gyms like mine, serious gyms, hardcore gyms, that differentiates is, you know, the equipment on top of, you know, the atmosphere and culture. It's because we focus more on, you know, the quality of the equipment, whether it's old school equipment that's making a return or it's new aged equipment, as long as it's built, you know, very well. So then I'd say probably the next big thing about, you know, what differentiates a gym like ours versus a commercial gym is going to be just building out your tribe. So building out your customer base that has the same kind of mindset that you have, and they see your vision of what you're building. Um, you know, they feel like they're a part of something bigger and better, and they're not just a number. You know, I think a lot of times they get lost in the corporate world because they, you know, are just a number, and, you know, are just dollar signs to those individuals. And here it's, you know, even if I don't personally know you, I've seen you, or one of the, you know, one of you guys, you know who that person is, and have engaged with that person. And so I think that goes a long way with helping build that community and customer base for a gym like ours, where, you know, we show them that we're listening to them, and their feedback is important to us. You know, so
yeah, they're comfortable enough to come up and ask questions about machines, and we, being around it so much, actually know how to do the machines, and how to show them how to use the machines.
Yeah.
Where like a lot of corporate places would be like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of corporate places might only have like one trainer there. Maybe the staff don't know how to use a piece of equipment, and so it's just kind of they get on it and they don't really know what they're doing, or and that's why I think you see sometimes these funny memes and reels. People doing weird exercises on gym equipment at corporate places because they don't really know what they're supposed to be doing, and so I'm sure some of those are staged as well, but there are some that you're just like wondering, like, what is that person doing on that machine? So, but yeah, I think it's just, again, building that tribe and that customer base definitely sets us apart from the commercial realm. Because I feel like everybody here feels like they've got a say, or they can, comfortably reach out to one of the employees or myself and express their, you know, pleasures or displeasures about things, and we'll try to correct them if we can. So, number 4 would be marketing without selling out. So, authenticity it definitely is our competitive advantage when it comes to gyms like ours, because we're pretty authentic. We tell you exactly here's what you're getting. I mean, all the way from just the website, you kind of sense the vibe of what this is, right from the get-go, from our social media posts. Right when you walk in the door and you see the big gym rat, on the wall, muscular gym rat, you kind of get a sense of what's going on, and then you start to see all the graffiti as you walk in. So you kind of know what you're walking into, whether it's going to be for you or not. And, being able to help inspire individuals with that really goes a long way, because that marketing of word of mouth then um, is basically free advertisement for you, because I'm going to trust, you know, you, Susie Q, who went and tried out the gym and love it versus this other gym down the street, So, being able to um, have that marketing advantage because you've built out this culture and atmosphere and all this stuff, and word of mouth has got out, about how great you've become, that it's just going to feed into like snowballing, and more people are going to go and check it out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've had very little advertising in our 10 plus years.
Right.
But again, 10 plus years, it takes time for word of mouth to get out there.
Right.
I mean, we're over a decade in, we're just now kind of having our big like blow up moment. Where, we're over 1,000 members now. And before, I mean, I don't think we got over 500 or 600 of the whole building.
Yeah.
It just took a while for the base to kind of grow, and obviously moving into a much larger building makes people talk more about it.
Yes, it does.
It helps us stand out more. But yeah, like having that difference between, Planet Fitness can run $1 million worth of advertisements on, NFL game commercials or anything like that.
Right.
But everyone knows about Planet Fitness. That doesn't make them want to go there more. It's kind of just like the default option.
Yes.
And then eventually you find places like us that people have good things to say about. They come in, they feel the vibe for the place, like you were saying. They experience a little bit of our culture, and they get used to feeling more comfortable in a place like this that isn't so cookie cutter.
Yeah, exactly. And our marketing, we didn't really. I mean, early on, I spent money on things that were useless, like Facebook ads and radio spots, and flyers, and they just don't seem to attract the people as well as Google searches, word of mouth, and your Google ratings, basically. And that seems to drive most of our memberships. And when it comes to marketing, I'm not a hard person to sell, I guess. I just have the mentality that, like, if instantly, like, if this gym's for you or not. I'm not gonna be one of those guys that's like, well, Mrs. Smith, you came in here because you said you need to lose 30 pounds. And, I don't understand why you need to talk to your husband about like why, you know, yay or nay on you joining. It seems like you've already made that decision. What can I do to sign you up right now? I'm not going to do that hard sell bullshit to you. And, if you're like, hey, I'll think about it, I'm like, cool, we'll see you later. Otherwise, yeah, just most people come in and they're going to sign up, because they like the environment, and if not, then, hey, there's other gyms around the area that you can go to, but yeah, I don't hard sell. And I think that's one of the good marketing things is that people don't like to be hard sold like that. And there's some debate on, if that's a good strategic idea to do that. That's just the way I do business.
Well, and it ties into being real, gym wise and marketing wise go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like you can't have a corporate structure doing business with a non-corporate place. Like you kind of have to go the same side no matter what. But again, when it comes to word of mouth, like if people feel a general or a genuine connection with someone that is touring around the building, and it feels less like a sales pitch, more of just your friend showing you a place.
Yeah,
they are more likely to sign up because they're also gonna see people doing the thing that they want to do. And usually those people end up meeting people in that realm. Like we have a lot of high school kids from school here in town that know other kids from school and they go here and they end up working out together, or people that came from other gyms that know people that go here now from that old gym, so they reconnect here now. Or just people in the same field, like bodybuilders and powerlifters and stuff like that, that just connect over their love of the game. They get to grow together now. But yeah, like if we were to come in and try to tell people like, oh well, you need to sign up today, stuff like that, it kind of puts too much pressure on them. And with it not being a corporate environment, they don't have the comfort of knowing that it's going to be the exact same as every other gym they've been to. Us standing out is great, but we need to also make sure that like people feel that comfort of coming to a new place and feeling like they're at home and not feeling like they're going to be sold on something.
Correct. And I think that leads into like what our next topic is, really about the challenges of a gym like this. Where hardcore gyms have this misconception that we're intimidating. And some of the biggest guys and girls in our gym, heaviest lifters, are like the biggest teddy bears, and the friendliest people. And there's always, and we still get it, that so-and-so will join, and I'm like, oh, I was intimidated at first, but after a couple of weeks I was like, man, this place is awesome. And once you realize that there's not a bunch of people here trying to stalk you, and no one's even looking at you, because the fact that everyone's here for a purpose, to train hard and get results, that you feel very safe, and so there is, I don't like that misconception of hardcore gyms and intimidating. It's not intimidating. It's because these people are serious, and it's a lifestyle. And I've told members that before when they join. I'm like, this is a lifestyle decision. If you want to see the results, it's not just come to the gym and do a lackluster workout for 45 minutes to an hour 3 days a week. It's eating right and being active, and and actually training hard, and sweating, and all that stuff. It is a lifestyle change. So that's, again, probably one of the biggest issues with gyms like ours, is just that misconception of intimidation. But I feel like if you, again, go back to culture, atmosphere, authenticity, people see that and it's not intimidating. Probably the next big thing, it's a challenge for us, is going to be our retention of members in such a small niche that we have. And a gym like ours can pretty much be anything you want it to be. I mean, the name hybrid, you can make it anything you want, but we've always stuck with strength training, powerlifting, functional training are three big areas. We've added wrestling, obviously, pro wrestling. We've added, self-defense classes. We've had a little bit of weightlifting here for a while, and some strongman stuff.
Kind of having a little bit of boxing,
right? And any gym's going to have issues with turnover. No matter who you are, and everything's got a season in this industry. So like right now we're in August, and it's a down month, usually. Surprisingly, we've actually done pretty well so far, but it's usually historically a down month because everyone's going back to school, everyone's still on vacations, everyone's still trying to be outside doing things and not necessarily inside the gym, other than the diehards. And then come September, October, as the weather starts to change, they'll start rolling back in. But yeah, I mean, gyms like ours, I think, used to be hard to get people to come in, but as, again, the corporate realm has turned a lot of people off, and they're seeking different options, better options for training, more authenticity, more community. That's what's driving a lot of the gyms like ours. So I see, especially in other gym owners buddies that I know, and seeing that they're still growing as well. So, obviously the industry's turning there. So I don't think having to compete against the $10 a month gyms, or $20 a month gyms anymore is an issue, because there's no reason to lower your standards or pricing to capture those people, as long as you're showing value. And as long as you keep showing more value for what they're paying, then there's really no argument there. Now, you're still going to get people that are going to say, oh, it's a little too expensive. And I get that. If you're in your young 20s and money's tight and you're in college, and I get all that. 40 or 50 bucks a month is, food on the table, tank of gas, stuff like that. But again, as long as you're showing the value, people will, and they feel like they're getting value for what they're paying, they're gonna take away from somewhere else. Maybe not go out and buy so many drinks that weekend, or go out to eat so many times, and use that money to better themselves, because it is an investment, again, into your body, into yourself. So as long as they see that as a priority, you should never have to worry about competing against the $10 gyms.
So. And it's an investment as well. Like, it's an investment in your future and in yourself. So if you're a young kid and you have goals in mind, that money might be tight, but it's just like buying better equipment for a gym.
Yeah.
We could have bought cheap ass equipment, but we wouldn't have been as good as we are now.
Right.
If you're 20 something years old and you want to get into bodybuilding or powerlifting or anything like that, you got to invest in being at a good gym. You're not going to be able to be a powerlifter at a Planet Fitness. Like, it's just not going to work.
Right.
And on the other hand, like, when you're talking about competing with the $10 a month gyms, like, no small business is ever going to be at the same level. You don't have multi-million dollars worth of advertising budget, and you don't have corporate backing to cover your rent for the month, in case you're a little bit low on membership. Like, it's a single player game,
right.
And you lowering your prices to try to compete with a place that has billions of dollars and thousands of locations, just isn't going to be feasible. So standing out more as a single location, even if your price is more, ideally people are going to see the value in being creative and being original, rather than trying to be another corporate place.
And the moment you lower your rates to compete with another gym down the street, is your death sentence, I think, because you can never go back up on your rates now. You've devalued yourself. You've dropped the rates down. You can't go back up on those. It's like me giving you a raise and then, oh, hey, now I'm going to take that money back, and it's like, but now, I can't just give you another raise up top of that, because you're like, well, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. So, I think that's a death sentence if you're trying to compete. Show more value for what you charge. Don't be afraid to charge what your value is, and you'll get the people that, share the vision and they see the value. You're not going to capture everybody. I mean, unfortunately. And, but you know what? There's always a gym for somebody out there. And if it's not yours, it's something else. But at the end of the day, you can sleep well knowing that, I'm priced for the value that I feel is giving, and it's a great deal for our members. We're not overcharging them, we're not undercharging them. It's set just right. So, some good takeaways that you can have being a hardcore gym or a gym like ours versus commercial. Um, just again, authenticity. Social media is authentic. I think a lot of social media posts, and we've had a few where they're like really high end with drones and stuff, but some of these just seem to be, at least in my opinion, a lot of them seem to be like video productions. And it just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me. Hey, you do what you got to do. If that works for you and it drives, memberships, cool, but it just doesn't feel authentic. That's why I like to, when I do some videos, I like to be on there and be authentic about it. Um, as a gym like ours versus a high end production. Another thing is, again, just your grit factor. Um, how's the vibe feel? What's the atmosphere like? Just look at those things, because it's not always about gym equipment. Anybody can have great gym equipment, and there's plenty of gyms that have a lot more and better gym equipment than we have. But what sells us is, again, the atmosphere, the vibe, the culture. I think those things play more into um, just spending money on gym equipment. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
I think that, well, yeah, I definitely agree with what you're talking about vibe wise, community wise. That's something that you can't buy. You can buy as much as many pieces of equipment as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Have the best equipment ever made. But if you're rude to your members, or if you have members that are rude to other members,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't try to correct those behaviors, that's gonna
Right.
screw up your community. And we've spent a good amount of time making sure that our members know how to behave, especially these young kids coming in, uh, high school kids that maybe haven't been around a gym like ours before, that are used to going to a Planet Fitness and kind of digging off and not being told to like chill out
Right.
and work out. They come in here, and usually within the first week or two, they might fool around a bit, and they'll be told to chill by other members, because somebody's going for a PR on deadlift or something, and you got kids dicking around next to you on the next platform.
Right.
Those kids are going to be told to chill out.
Oh yeah.
They're
Yeah.
trying to work over here. It's not about making stupid TikToks and goofing off. It's about coming in and working hard towards a goal. But that's good though, because then those kids become the next generation of bodybuilders or powerlifters, and
Mhm.
they're now programmed to operate that way.
Yeah.
So that way, when they get older, that next group comes in, they're going to keep teaching that lesson as that keeps going on, and that just keeps improving the community for sure.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with all of that. And so yeah, I mean, it's, I thought this would be a good episode to talk about, just kind of like gyms like ours versus the corporate world. Um, and again, grit's going to attract the loyalty. The authenticity is going to attract loyalty. That's going to increase your retention. Um, Authenticity just always wins in the long run. I mean, if you're authentic with people, you don't lie to them, you're honest, you're upfront, like, here's why I can't buy this, here's why we're not doing this, or, here's why I invested in this piece of equipment versus this, people will understand, and they might not like it, but they'll understand, because there's a lot behind the scenes, I think, that members don't see and aren't aware of, other factors, that come into play as to.
I mean, they think the money comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
money doesn't grow on trees.
Yeah, we're not millionaires here, and unfortunately, my gym's not. It's self-funded, and it's we've done great over 10 years, but we don't have investors or financial backers or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, let's see if we missed anything here. I don't think we did. It's just, again, big chain box places have no soul. The prices are low for a reason. Authenticity that they lack, atmosphere that they lack, the equipment they lack. So again,
They don't get to know their members either.
Yeah, you get what you pay for $10.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want to tell you that. And I had and I'll leave you with this one little piece of advice. When it came to pricing, and I heard this a long time ago, and I forgot where I heard it from, but everyone's got a budget. But if you look at pricing, yeah, you can get a steak dinner at Waffle House for $6, but it's like this well done little thin thing, and yeah, it might satisfy your needs there, but like if you want a nice juicy steak dinner, you're going to go to another place and spend $30-$40 on a nice juicy steak at like a Texas Longhorn or whatever, that's done well and tastes great, and it's like an inch thick.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I don't want to be the $6 Waffle House, like some corporate gyms are, but I don't also want to be too high end where the steak dinner is now like $100. We're right in the middle. You're getting a great value for what we give you and for the price we charge. And so just, that's kind of my outgoing word of advice for, again, why gyms like ours are surviving versus the corporate world, so.
Absolutely. Well, that was a good first shorter episodes, not hour long, but good first coming back to the podcast after like 6 or 7, maybe 8 months. Get back in the swing of things. Obviously, having a camera set up now is pretty great.
Yeah, it's a little awkward and weird, but
it's a little weird. We're still trying to figure it out. Just to kind of clue in everyone, we are going to be getting 2 more microphones. That's why there's 2 more spots on these couches. So that hopefully we can do a 4-person podcast pretty soon. Obviously, doing more filming and stuff now. Getting back into the swing of things. Hopefully, having some fun guests on pretty soon. Maybe a couple wrestlers pretty soon. I got some things in the works. Some more gym owners, of course. Maybe a couple more of our trainers. We have gotten a few more trainers this year as well. So maybe getting to talk to them and hearing their background in the industry. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all for hanging out with us. Definitely a good first episode to get back in the swing of things.
Yes.
So make sure you follow the show. You can click that button down below, follow the show, and get notified every time we upload a new episode here. Make sure to follow the gym. It's Hyper Strength Fitness on Instagram. That's where we post all of our newest updates, all of our newest equipment, everything like that. Thank you all so much for listening.
Yeah. We'll see you.